ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to another episode of EOTT with me, Jimmy James, and we've got our first guest request for you, ladies and gentlemen, from my brother across the globe, across the plane, over in New Zealand, Rollzta O'Reilly. Rollzta, how are you, my brother?
How are you, brother?
I'm very well, brother, very well indeed. Thanks for reaching out, man. Now, in the interest of transparency, I suppose we should tell the listeners, we have tried to do this 2 times already, but tech has been defeating us. We've had some tech issues, so we thought, third time lucky, we're going to go for it again. So, as you know, Rollzta, as a tradition on the podcast, tell us a little bit about yourself, brother, and what kind of inspired you to reach out to come and have a chat on the podcast, if you would.
Thanks, Jimmy, and I love your work, bro.
Bless you, brother. I appreciate you listening.
A little bit about me, I guess. So I'm Rollzta O'Reilly. I'm from New Zealand. I'm making conspiracy theory videos. I've been studying the conspiracy theory thing for a long while now, years and years, I guess. But yeah, quite in depth with a long range of topics. Like I don't just focus on one thing. I focus on pretty much everything. And yeah, I guess in the end, my idea was to just figure out exactly how it all works. And I guess I needed to do that for my own sanity, maybe, but I don't even know, to be honest. But So long story short, I'm just really a researcher. But at the end of the day, I've tried to start like a bit of a community, just like Derek Bros and many others have with the Freedom Cells. It's sort of along the same context, but getting people to all actually subscribe, as of course we all know, is never. At the end of the day, just well researched on topics, and really think that it's time for us to really actually start putting our communities together, and that was the main objective, I guess you could say, of the starting. I just started a Facebook group. I ain't got even a website. I need to start a website. It'd be so easy to start one, but it's like everybody's already got a website. But yeah, I'm starting getting worried about our timing. Well, not our timing, but I think it's just time for action. I guess it's time for us to really, call things for how I see it, I guess. But that's a little bit about me, and yeah, thanks, Jim.
Oh, thank you. But I appreciate that, yeah, and obviously, we have had previous conversations, and pardon me, it does come down to that holistic approach, I think, brother, doesn't it? If you look into everything, you get more of an understanding, whereas it's very easy to become compartmentalized and just go down into like one little rabbit. Space, space is my thing, UFOs is my thing, or ghosts is my thing, or whatever it is. But if you just kind of take a little bit of time and look into everything, it does build that bigger picture. That's what I've kind of found, and yeah, we're definitely coming to a crossroads, brother. It does seem like, all this shit's going to hit the fan one way or the other sooner or later. And I think I'm kind of lucky over here. We've been discussing the fact that over there you're not really having much success with getting people to connect on the ground. So hopefully by putting this stuff out there, perhaps we will have a bit more exposure, and people will kind of realize, because we are all disjointed and spread about. I think I'm very lucky that I live on such a small island, even just in my local community now in Swindon. We've got it was quite a busy one in the rabbit hole last week. I think it was at least 10, 12 people there, which was great to see. And I think more and more people are wanting to come along as well. Like I spoke to my sister Heather Faye across the pond over in America, and like she's just on her own, man. It's such a big sprawling place, and it's all good and well being connected online, and that's fantastic. But when you're not connected on the ground and you just, you've got nobody in your actual physical community, it can be quite isolating, can't it?
Well, yeah, with millions of people around you, and you can feel alone.
This is it.
I'm quite a deep person. And I love talking about, I guess, what did I call it? It's like deep, I guess, perspectives. In-depth perspectives, and I think this is what's gonna save us. Like, there is no like magical community, or something. It is just each of us making that decision, maybe, of just we're either gonna live the right way, or we're gonna go down the wrong path, and each of us has to make that decision. And it might take, like a lot of people say, this calamity that's coming. We can all see that these bad guys or whoever these or however this is either system set to fail or there's some bad guys behind it or bad guys slash alien element or something, whatever whatever it is, you know, it's gonna come down to the big decision of when the shit hits the fan or whatever you want to call it. It's going to be the decision of each individual, really. And, you know, we want to, whatever area you're in, when the shit does hit the fan, make sure that you're the shining light of your community. Make sure you stand up because you're the one with the knowledge. You'll be the one who's in the know. So make sure you make all your fellow people who are out wondering what's happening and worried about what's happening, make sure you give them, you be a shining light in your community. Then this will be your point, your time to shine. Each person that's listening to this will be in their locale, their locality, the person to talk to, because they will be in understanding and they'll be able to calm people down, I guess, from going too irrational about things. And if we get a hold on things before they get a hold on things, when shit goes bad, you know, maybe we can pull things around and really community spirit, human spirit, love, and looking out for your fellow humans and compassionate giving and collaboration and networking is going to save humanity. And this is what's going to create the new Tartaria, the new, because they're going to crash the old one and try and create a new one. But it's up to us when they crash the old one to start our new one already now, and it can really, you know, take flight out of the nest when they crash this one they're crashing right now before our eyes. You can all see it, and so many people are in the know now and becoming aware of the cashless society and the economic crash or whatever they're gonna do. Like it seems like something's coming down the pipe along those lines, and graphs would suggest that the debt figures are just gone beyond, and they're only getting worse. So we all can see it, and we all know it. So it's up to each one who's in the know, who is an enlightened one, you know, that knows about this sort of stuff, to be a shining light in their community. And you know, these are the sort of things I want to talk to people on my YouTube channel and in person. And I encourage people to talk to people in person about, you know, yeah, but talk to people you don't know, and like, yeah, you know, really, it's time to branch out, because I believe there is there's some sort of program, I believe. It's instilled in everyone's mind through the TV to, you know, somehow they might have even subconscious programming, subliminal programming might have us in some sort of fear paradigm. They understand it better than we do, but anyone could tell you if you just sort of pick up the courage, you can do anything. But it seems we're all sort of kept in this little box by this paradigm or this programming. It's like you could call it it's like conditioning slash brainwashing, really. And we got to break it and really go back to old values, you know, community spirit, family spirit, strong family units. You know, I guess we can all see this, and we just got to be the people, of course, at the start, being the inspiration, being the example, the shining example, but on top of that, be the strong person in your community. But yes, thanks, Jimmy. I love you, brother.
Much love to you, my brother. Much love indeed. And I appreciate that. Thank you, because everything you're saying, it completely resonates to me as 100%. And excuse me, the people I've spoken to, it does seem to be that we're kind of all resonating on the same kind of wavelength, you know. And as I was saying, we've been chatting as part of this kind of global group within the Zoom chat, and you know, altogether there's about 30 or 40, and everyone's kind of, you know, fully up on that spectrum of awakening, and they're all in their different niche fields of interest. Some of them are doing the live life claim, some of them are doing the sovereign decree, and it's just about getting this kind of information to more of an audience. So for example, like the Seed Sisters, I'm not sure if you saw the conversation with the Seed Sisters, but the work they've been doing for the last kind of best part of 2 decades, really, it's just phenomenal stuff, all about community gardens and being self-sufficient, growing, getting back to nature, recognizing all the stuff that we have on our own doorsteps, the herbs, the seeds, the berries, the medicinal beneficial plants, and they're phenomenal guys. They're not the only ones in the world. They're there are plenty of other people doing it, but they're the shining light for me really on this island who I've seen, and I'm sure there are others who I'd have to speak to as well if their information comes across my path. But my point being is, they'll have a good template for other people who are interested to do the same thing, and that's just one element of this whole kind of change of living. The whole permaculture. I found my beautiful friend Caris sent me. She's always sending me articles, bless her, on all facets. She's on board with all this kind of corruption and stuff. She knows what's going on. And damage. No, I think it's damage. No, not damage. Gamage. I think it's Bill Gamage wrote a book about Australia and about how they say all the Aborigines were just like tribal hunter-gatherer types of people, but apparently they had Australia locked down. It was all beautiful permaculture, huge parks, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I think that's what we need to be getting back to. We were discussing it last night with regards to Monsanto and the fact that not only do they spray all these chemicals on everything, which just makes it toxically poison, essentially. They're wearing hazmat suits. I think I've stopped the sixth or seventh guy I've seen from the local council walking around spraying fucking Roundup everywhere. I'm like, no safety equipment, no mask, nothing. Some of them are even smoking while they're doing it. I'm like, what are you spraying there, brother? Oh, just a bit of glyphosate. I'm like, you do realize how toxically poison that is, right? He's like, oh, we've watered it down, it's all right. I'm like, dude, you need to go home this evening. Go. I said, I don't care. I'm just thinking of you, right? But go home this evening, go on Google and type in Monsanto Roundup lawsuits. The guys who use that in the official capacity, they wear hazmat suits, bro, like out of ET. And you're walking around spraying it everywhere, day in, day out. And a couple of them are quite receptive. They're like, oh, yeah, shit, cheers, bro, I'll look into this. A couple of them are just like, well, whatever, like, all right then, whatever, you carry on, you can give yourself cancer. But, I think they were talking about the, abundance. This planet, it's an abundant planet, do you know what I mean?
It's just bro, this is what's important, bro. They think they're going to take over, bro. But we're gonna take over. I mean, if we communicate.
Rather than take over, I think take back, if I may. Just not take over, but take back that control that they kind of take from us. Our our autonomy and our
seriously, I get it. Yeah, I hate it. Sometimes I think I get overly ambitious or something.
Well, there's no such thing in my eyes, brother. You can never be too ambitious.
No,
I just want to I was just clarifying the language of my own mind, because like take over can be misconstrued. You know what I mean? Some people could misconstrue that as in ideas of replacing one control system with another control system, when in reality it doesn't need to be a control system, does it? And once you get back to reigniting and rediscovering our inherent abilities, all this kind of like telepathy and all this kind of stuff, bro. Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't have to have a conversation. We could just sit there, look at each other, and boom, mind meld. I might not have seen you for a month. I don't have to sit there describing to you what I did this day, what I did that day, and what's been going on, this, that, and the other. I'll just mind meld with you, and you would experience, boom, every sniff, every blink, every thought, every fart, pardon me, just the whole thing. There would be no, and then there's no room then for ambiguity. There's no room for confusion of, oh, I thought you meant this, or oh, I thought you meant that, or oh, I was confused. There is no room for confusion because you are literally there. You're in my mind, I'm in your mind, and I believe that's what we're capable of doing. And can you imagine a planet of people? Go on, sorry.
Oh yeah, these sorts of things. I think I was listening to the guy that you had on the podcast, the neural monitoring guy.
Oh yeah, Kevin Christian. Yeah.
Christian. So Kevin Christian, and like all of this stuff is possible. Like, of course, like just like I can, if I train myself, I could sit here and tune into what you're feeling. Like just like there's people that can do all sorts of things with their mind and do all sorts of things with it's crazy. Like I'm a really practical person, like really quite practical, and I'm like Max Egan, and I'm like, or like Mark Passio, and when he says like, you know, well, you can't do that. You can't do your free energy idea because you're not free. You know, and practically, like when you talk about it seriously, in practical sense, he's completely right. Like, like the most important thing is our freedom. Like, and I think this is another thing. Like, I just think that in the universe, like, oh, this is all I get a lot of the things I think I guess from the new message, newmessage.org. So the new message, and I'd say this is true, like from what I can observe. I mean, I haven't been there, but apparently in the universe at large, I'm talking about like I obviously believe that there's a human race, and then you've got other alien races, right? And in the universe at large, the new message says, and I pretty much think this is probably the case, and I guess I believe what they're saying, um, is that there's a lot of it's very strict. You know, there's not freedom and a lot of freedom in the universe. I think they've found that things go well under strict rule, like kind of like the communists. Like things go well because they're so strict and they're so stringent. No one walks outside the line because they get their whatever clipped off. So a lot of the universe has ended up like that. But God, in order for us to return back to the place we come from, because apparently this reality is temporary, but in order for us to return, I guess, back into ourselves and back to oneness and back to where we came from originally, we have to experience I guess the path and life and more freedom and all these sorts of things and actually growth and evolution of the being in order to return. But there's so much, it's so strict and so there's so little freedom in the universe. It's just about a struggle for any being to return. And, you know, I believe that God wants this place, humans and the human family and earth to well the human family to be free so that beings do have a place where they can return because it's such a beautiful place. And I believe that yeah, we are selling ourselves short and we're selling the earth short. Of course we can all see it, everybody that you can walk into down the street, if you're a 3 News or 1 News or whoever, you could ask them and ask them, you know, are you happy with how we're treating the environment? No one really agree. That's a great idea how we're going. So, but the thing is, we're all trapped on these treadmills, you know, running every day to afford rent and not being able to get off the treadmill and, you know, actually contribute to our community, contribute to life, or even the government, contribute to what the government's thinking about or doing or contributing. We can't because they're too. But if they miss a house payment, they could be out of their house. If they miss a job day tomorrow, if they didn't go to job tomorrow, they could lose their job. Someone will be in the next day to replace them. Someone will be in the next week to replace where they're living. They will be homeless with nothing. Like these are possibilities, and this is, you know, the sort of system that we're in. But obviously, something's got to give, and we all know it. That the thing is why I think these guys are pushing a lot of this Agenda 21, bad stuff, the communist rule, what they want on us, UN, and you know the rest of it, is because it's overpopulated. I mean, I'm not one to sit here and push the population, but at the end of the day, we can all see that there's a lot of people on the planet, and you sort of sit back, even with because you know that's what they try and tell you that there's too many people on the planet, but they gotta go, and there really isn't too many people on the planet. But at the end of the day, it's like something's got to give. It's all in the air. The way that society's been, way we are, it's too congested. The economy's going too mad. Something's gonna give. Like the way that we have it at the moment, because no one can jump off the treadmill and actually contribute to the community and help, because it's like a bomb ready to explode. And they've set it. They've set the bomb and they've put the whole thing together, I think. And you knows exactly what's happening here, because it might even be, like really so complex that it's hard to understand. But I think that I see that the human family can be free. We can get our freedom. We can be free, but we actually have to actually entirely say no to their entire system and actually create our own system. Like, because they've created the New World Order, the UN and Agenda 21 is created so when everything crashes, here's your solution. It's all packaged. It's got the UN World Money System. It's got the UN Police. They've got everything right there. And they're just going to go, here, take it. Or what else have you got? Everything else has crashed. What else have you got? Nothing. There's nothing else. There's them. There's us, the humans. And then there's the crash system that you can't get money like Greece. It'll be like Greece. Like, no shit. I'm not kidding you. What's happening right now in Iran, this second, I swear, I don't know if it's me or if I'm crazy, but if you look at
My mate Dave Jenkins mentioned it. Sorry, Rollzta. My buddy Dave mentioned this to me, but I've not looked into any of it myself. What have you seen that's been going on over there at the moment? Something to do with the central banks, right?
So the government in Iran has just hiked prices by 50%. So everything's gone up by 50%, the gas prices, and people are rioting and throwing fucking bricks through windows and all this sort of carry on. And but at the end of the day, when the money, because there's only so much money that can come out of a bank, because it's all sort of held together by our belief in what it's worth. So like Greece, like when there's not enough money for the economy, inflation, blah 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 blah, and all this banker terms that no one understands. And it's just the money's just not there. They can't print it fast enough, because all the money that people say they have in the bank only exists in their minds. It doesn't exist in paper form. I mean, if you think any of it exists in paper form, you've got to go study central banking and Federal Reserve, fractional reserve banking. Only 90% of it, 10% of it's in the bank. So if you got $1,000 in there, best believe there's only 100 that you can really draw out.
Yeah. Clever old system they put in place, wasn't it?
You know where the rest of it is? The rest of it's in everybody else's bank account, in their pockets or something like that. And people, of course, they don't know about this because we're not taught banking in school. I wonder why.
No.
But
Yeah.
no. No, they wouldn't. But, it's obvious that they're going to crash their system, and it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme. It's just a Ponzi scheme. We've all fell for a Ponzi scheme, and it sounds all good and well when you're getting paid, but when the money runs out and you end up like the guys in Greece, it's another story, because, but you see what's happening right now in Iran. That's what's going to happen maybe everywhere. Who knows what's going to happen? If the money's, you got to realize it's pretty, especially I watch a lot of that sort of, well, not a lot of it, but David Dubine, when he starts talking about global food crisis, because there is such a thing as maybe a grand solar minimum that could be happening. Things getting colder instead of warmer.
I've seen this, yeah.
People should look into the grand solar minimum. I'm not one that, I don't know if it's happening. To be honest, I haven't even looked at it properly, but that's another factor that could be at play. I have noticed things getting colder, but I could be mad because things go up and down, and the sun's all over the place. It gets closer and gets further away. It's on some elliptical orbit. I think I'm not studying on it, but that's what you just notice. You have a cold year and a bit of a warm year, warmer year, cold year. So
yeah.
I'm not really studied. I should be more studied on all this. I want to get more studied on it, but point being is, that's a lot of information there that I just said, and
Yeah, thank you, bro. Really appreciate that. No, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. And as you say, it's just, you're saying about you should look into it more. The thing is, there's so much information out there on all these different topics. It's like you could research 10,000 lifetimes and not even, scratch the surface. I'm exaggerating slightly, but you get my point. And I've seen this grand solar minimum stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But if that was the actual case, they would keep that suppressed.
Ice age, they call it. They call it
a
ice age. That could last for 5 to 10 years, and it will obviously get worse and worse and then start getting better. But this could affect global food prices to 20% on the dollar. So I could pick up a packet of oats, right? Right now I could go down the shop and buy them for like $2.50 or something, $3, and the height of the grand solar minimum, it'll be $15 instead of $2.50.
That's not 20% though, is it? Oh, I don't know. My maths isn't great. But
It's 20% of its worth, I think. Or was it $1.50? I can't remember. Oh, it was something like that. It was real bad.
so it's like 5 times the price, right?
No, like something like more than that. 20. Yeah. Oh, is it 20? Two. So 250. 250.
Well, 20% is a fifth, isn't it?
Oh, it's $12.50. Is that what I said?
Right.
$12.50.
Oh, you said $3 to $15, which is kind of 5 times the original value, but I just didn't coincide in my mind with 20%. But I may be wrong. I'm not.
Keep up, Jimmy.
I'm no
Keep up,
I'm no mathematician, but I'm no mathematician. But I get what you mean. Inflation, and the whole, you know. You know that, brother. It's the same with the fuel, isn't it? It's the same with the fuel. You know, it's drip, 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 drip. The minute they go, right, go on, then we're going to bang the prices up by a whole 50%. Shit kicks off, brother. Shit
You got to
kicks off.
realize that if anyone's watched The Order of Barbarians,
No, I've not seen that.
you go, it's 6 hours long or something. It's an interesting one. And then it talks a lot about like how, you know, prices will just rise, you know, start rising, like the power prices start going up and the other prices start going up. But you don't want to get the stuff in your mind. We want to really be focused on reclaiming our communities and reclaiming our sovereignty. And there is a threat if you people research David M. Jacobs, who's he's an abduction researcher, is what he's coined himself as. But he's a very credible person, in my opinion. And the government doesn't want to know about his research, even though he's researched over 1,000 abductees, alien abduction abductees, that all say the same thing or around about the same thing, who are not in conversation or in coherence, are saying the same thing. And he's brought this to the governments, and they don't want to know about it. And if you tell me that if 1,000 people are all saying the same thing, there's probably something going on. You know.
100%, bro. 100%. That's it. And
This is just another. Sorry.
Another aside. Another interesting angle.
Thing that could be going on, and you know, everybody's heard of the Anunnaki, but this has got a lot to do. I do get these ideas, some of them from that. This could be a big part of our reality from the new message. Like, I really do, actually. 100% really try to follow the new message, and I would suggest other people look into the new message if you're true in heart, and have an open mind. Check it out.
Yeah, I've not looked at the true message yet. Thank you, brother. I've not looked at the new message, sorry. But I did email David M. Jacobs the other day, probably maybe about a week or two ago now, to see if I can get in touch with him, because I don't have any personal experience, but I do have people around me and close to me who do, and I've been there with them when they've had kind of, you know, contact experience with greys, contact experience with shape-shifting reptilians, and you know, make of that what you will. I don't care what anyone else thinks. It's, you know, it is what it is. You know, life is life, isn't it? Go on.
Yeah, just before you go on, I'll just explain what the new message is, just quickly.
Yes, please do. Yeah, please do.
So the new message is founded by a man named Marshall V.N. Summers. He is a man that is a messenger from God, in my opinion. I believe that this man does have knowledge from literally the source of creation for the human family at this place and at this time, for the certain circumstances that the human family is unprepared for. So the human family is unprepared for the climate catastrophe that's meant to take place. You know, I guess no one can see it. No one can say that we can't point to it. and say that it's coming, but the new message says that we're unprepared for a climate catastrophe pretty much, and hard times, I guess, like withering crops, etc. Desert, desertification, things like that. And on top of that, the new message is warning of an alien intervention, literally just like a resource explorer, a handful of different groups of aliens, resource explorers, who have found Earth and managed to get in cohorts with high up natives, meaning the humans, and the idea is that they can't actually take over Earth outright, because we happen to live in an area of space that's highly inhabited by other beings, and there's sophisticated networks of trade in the area of space, of the area of this galaxy we live in, and there's laws that oversee this area of space, and war is not allowed. So they can't just come in and laser gun us. The only thing they can do is actually try and make it seem like to the other alien races in the area that we are all playing along, that they're our friends. They're not invading race, they're our friends. So if not enough humans actually, enough of the human family actually start protesting about the alien presence, they're allowed to stay here under the law that governs this network of space. And there's law that governs this network of space because it's so highly inhabited, because the networks of trade supply lifelines to the planets. If they don't get this trade, they could die. So they actually need these networks, these trade routes, to be stable. So they outlaw any war, and the alien races, or nations as they called in the new message in this area of space, will actually pretty much bound together to take out any warring race, so there's no war, so that the trade routes remain stable. But yes, so this man, Marshall Van Summers, is actually getting the angelic presence sent through him to you, so that you can receive this knowledge. And the other third thing is one is the planet, our environment. Two is the threat of an alien intervention. So these are just resource explorer aliens, though. They can leave, like they're just pretty much like, they're like pimps, like trying to come and take whatever they want from everyone, and just could not care, and just are not phased. Like, they're sleazy aliens, really, and the spectrum of different races of aliens that exist in apparently the universe. And the third thing is, so the second is aliens, the third is to unite every single one of us with our true intuition. We all have a strong intuition within us, and this is what we carry from the other side, where we return to. And this is our thread that connects us with all things and God. And this is what the new message aims to unite you with, so that you can maneuver in these challenging times and be a strength for your community and find your redemption, which is exactly what you, Jimmy, were trying to find, which was the purpose to life. You did come here with a purpose, and that's what the new message says. You came here with a purpose, and every single thing about you is to do with this purpose. But not everybody's going to find their purpose. Some people die early. Some people get into relationships they never should have got into. Some people, get lost in careers they never should have got lost into, and the idea is to leave your life open, so that you can actually experience and be able to choose where you want to go. Because if you get too mixed up in something, you're actually trapped there. You can't get up and go to wherever you need to go, or wherever you're being called to go, because apparently there's an angelic presence all around us, and that they watch over us and make sure that we don't do anything dumb, because they want us here on the planet, and you yourself want to be here on the planet to help and to be of service to the people, the planet, or the animals. And we've all got our specific calling and what's passionate towards us. and it's be the thing that calls out to you most. You know, whatever really screams at you will be the thing that you need to go look at, and you need to go investigate. You need to go talk to. You need to go be there. And yeah, but some of us can be still lost and still needing to experience more suffering, like the Buddhists would talk about. We need to experience more suffering because we haven't had enough yet. Because once you realize that you don't want any more suffering and you want to actually try to do everything right, then you're actually on the path. You're on probably the same path, and you start listening to your intuition, I guess, hopefully. But I guess we'll all do it naturally. But it was a lot easier with the new message, and everybody will have their own little religion that'll be made for them. The new message might not be for you. You might be a Christian person, you might be a Buddhist person, you might be even a Krishna person that believes in the Indian traditions, you know, whatever it may be. Everybody will have their specific thing, and we should all be a little bit of a scholar in all of the religions and try to see what truth we can gather from all these different traditions. But yeah, newmessage.org, www.newmessage.org. I don't know what I could add to that. And yeah, it's amazing.
Bro.
I think the new message is the reason why I'm even still alive, to be honest. Because yeah, when I was going through my suicidal period, I was listening to the new message, and I got to say, the new message did help me just in my own life, get to, you know, get out of that place and with positive sort of thing. I'm not saying that, you know, new message saved my life, and I don't get paid by them or anything. I just really like actually like I'm starting to really believe it. Like I for a while I was like, there's just the odd thing in there where you're like, you can't deny it that'd be the right thing to do, but because the only thing, to be honest, the only thing I still have on it now that I can say, like, what's up with that is like the new message wants a low population for the world, like 500 million, and it's like the same amount that's on the Georgia Guidestones or something. And it's like, but the thing is that we've destroyed the planet bad enough that maybe it can only withstand like this many people in order to actually come back to fulfillment and fullness again. Like it can't sustain this huge amount of people and actually get back to full goodness again. And that's why I could even say that they're right there. I still can't knock it. You know, the old new message. Like, yeah, it's just true. But yeah, I love the new message anyway. But yeah.
I'll put a link in the description box for that. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, that's just what it is. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's all we're about, bro.
What it is. I'll represent anything that seems true to me. And seems legit, I guess.
Yeah, man, for sure. That's what it's about, isn't it? Just.
Do you know what I was thinking about before? How do you tell what's true and what's not? Well, like turning on a hose, you can turn it on until it runs true. Like if it's dirty, it's dirty, so it's going to keep running dirty even when the hose runs. It's going to be, but eventually, you know, if it's clean water, it'll run true. Isn't that funny? Like.
I like that.
The truth, and when the truth is like that, if someone's, you know, or the truth, you always sort of know the truth in the end because it will run true. It'll be there. It will be there when you need it.
I think it stands up to the test of time as well, doesn't it? That whole kind of.
That's it. No? That's it. You hit nail on the head. The test of time, isn't it? That's the truth.
Yeah. Some things appear to be legit, and then in time it starts to crumble, starts to kind of waver, starts to show its true colors and all that kind of jazz, and then, but you know, solid stuff is always solid, and it'll always be solid. Does it something like the
exactly?
It's like the truth is like the truth is like a tiger or a lion, set it free, and it doesn't need anyone to defend. It can defend itself, or something like that. It's all the same stuff, isn't it? At the end of the day, and a lot of the stuff you were saying there resonated with me. A lot of it with regards to the space stuff, the alien stuff. You know, again, it's conjecture as far as I'm concerned, but could all very well be true as well. You know, I'm one of these people. I keep an open mind to everything. You know, the minute you start saying, that's a load of shit, this is rubbish, that's nonsense, nah, that can't be true, you're just putting yourself in a box. You know, I think it's just best to be open to everything and just use your discernment as best you can. And it's getting more and more difficult. There's no denying that. We're getting into all this like.
The main thing is that people are like that. They've watched too many movies, and of course, what's the best way to trick you? Like if I was going to try and trick someone, like I'd start saying crazy things like beforehand, because I am a trickster. Like before I started realizing the truth about life, I was a deceiver. I was a lying, deceiver, and prick, whatever you want to call it. Like
A little bit of interference there, but yeah, I'll get it.
But yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, I can't remember exactly what I was saying.
Sorry, bro, we got cut off there. A little bit of a technical issue. We got cut off, put us off our thread. But yeah, I think we were just kind of, talking about keeping open to everything, but using discernment, but it becoming more and more difficult, with regards to strategize disinformation campaigns, call centers full of trolls, all this kind of jazz. It's just shenanigans, really. And what we're doing now is a lot of people in my network have all got kind of dossiers of information, dossiers of evidence, dossiers of things that are going on, things that have gone on, things that are continuing to go on, things that are being covered up, things that are being actively what's the word I'm trying to look for? You talked about it last time, my brother, about your discovery that people are able to be taken, locked up, kidnapped essentially by the government goons, taken away without any kind of warrant or anything. And it's the same as what they're doing over here. We've got the David Noakes case, which he's just had some success actually, which is nice. We need to get Lynthia back from France. But we've got my brother John Patterson. They're just stitching him right up. They've got him on. From what I can gather of the situation, they've got him on harassment charges, right? But the harassment is him trying to serve papers on solicitors because they won't accept the papers because they know what they're about and they know they're very incriminating and are going to cause a lot of stink. They've got him on harassment charges. Shenanigans, bro. And Carol Woods is still up in Lancaster, major shows.
The Carol Woods story.
Yeah, well, I know it is, bro. This is the thing, but a lot of people are on board with this stuff, and she's up in Lancaster. That woman, oh my God, they want to break her mind because she's like the Rain Man, brother. She doesn't forget a thing. She remembers bloody times, dates, names, codes, court reference numbers. The woman's got one of the sharpest minds I've ever had the privilege of speaking with, and it's no wonder they want to kind of lock her away and force medicate her and break her mind, but. It's just shenanigans, bro. And as I say, it comes back then to all this disinformation campaigns. You'll have a conversation with someone and they'll say, "This is horse shit," and I'll say, "Well, you just need to go and do a bit of research, really. It's not my job to convince you of anything." And then they'll go and they'll come back with the first Wikipedia reference they find, and I'm like, okay, awesome, yeah, great work on the research there, brother. It's in this day and age, you've got to do a lot of research into things to get a fair overall picture to come to your own kind of understanding. Because if you just if you look at the first thing you see on Google, generally it'll be disinformation. Not always. I'm not saying everything on Google's bullshit, because obviously it's not. But when you get into the research stuff, the hidden stuff, the stuff that's shenanigans, how they operate, it's full of shit, basically.
Yeah.
That's essentially.
To be honest, people got to start, how me and you are like, I wish that you were like, it's hard for me to, find other people like this. So we gotta start branching out, and really trying to expand all of our communities and all of our, talk to more people and just start. But you would be surprised how, if you just approach people, it's so, so I guess I'm trying to say that we should talk to people more, but I'm trying to get out and talk to people more. But really, I'm trying to say with that, we must, in our minds, really be I guess, a special person to everyone, and really, because we know about this sort of stuff, and make an extra effort to just be a shining light in our community, because that's all we can really do. And we must do something, though. We must start actually trying to create human freedom, because that's the only thing that's important in all this, is human freedom. If there's
100%,
no
bro.
human freedom at the end of this, it's not going to be a good thing for the human family. Like, because we all know that no one likes. We've all seen the black slave movies, right? What if the whole entire human family is like the black slaves? Like, no one wants to see that. Like, because this is what they have lined up. We're not talking about one people. We're talking about a one world order. We really got to be careful about what we're doing here. Especially when you look at the secrets of the Silicon Valley. You know what I mean? Like how the internet is a military installation, and it's so that they can run a command and control center off that network. Which a command and control center is just some sort of communication, network that's already wired in. They don't have to satellite it. And then you look at that Elon Musk guy, 20,000, 40,000 satellites per day, or whatever it is.
Is that what they're sending up? Is it?
Or something like that, or 200 a day, or 2,000, or something stupid.
No, I don't follow.
The figure is outrageous. And I think the new message says that we got to clean our skies, and that means cleaning all that junk that's in the sky, all that junk, all that space junk. It's got to go. We don't need it. We've got land-based communication systems. We don't need all this crazy networking, crazy 5G enabled satellites.
Well, those who were subscribers to the dome theory would say that there no such thing as satellites. It is already just all the land stuff through.
There's no such as satellites. There's no such thing as satellites on the flat Earth.
Well, this is it, and I don't subscribe to any particular model myself. I could sit here for 2 hours and be convinced it's flat, and then spend another 2 hours with someone else and be convinced it's round. It's just, I think it all comes down to perspective. We are manifest beings. We do create our own reality, and I think see what you want to see, right? What I had a thought that I wanted to come back. Oh yeah, you're talking about the command and control center. I was watching a little documentary the other night about. They call them U.S. military bases, right? But it's not the U.S. military, is it? The U.S. military is controlled by Serco, the Crown Corporation, goes back to the Vatican, blah, blah, blah. We should know this stuff. If you don't, you need to do some research, goddamn. But yeah, it's 717 bases in 138 countries, something like that. Like, holy shit, that guy lucky.
Probably laid it out on a map. You'd start seeing that there's a bit of a pattern.
Oh yeah, they showed the map. It's quite revealing. China, not a single military base. You're like, yeah, okay. But yes, it's all these kind of things.
There seems to be some sort of pattern.
Indeed, indeed. And I don't know. I don't like. The thing of it is, we talk about Mark Steele, yeah.
Me and you, brother, we're just about in the worst because we're in the Five Eyes countries, but. We're trading off like the affluence for like overdone, over top, over grilled to the bone, grill burnt bloody surveillance.
Oh yes.
Everything we touch in these countries, that if it's not the bloody microwave listens to us, the frickin',
You see all that stuff with the
trading off, it's a big trade-off. If you live in a third world country, there's just nothing works though.
This is it, yeah. Give me a third world country any day. But even to the point where this, I think I've the doorbells now that see your face when you ring. Is it? I forget what it's called. All to do with Amazon. They can link all that up supposedly to facial recognition and. Just overbear it now, this kind of control grid. I forgot what I was on about. I was going to say something. I forgot my thread. But what was it to do? It's to do with the military base. Oh, that's right, yeah. When I was chatting with Mark Steele, and he's saying, there's nobody's going to escape this 5G grid. You're talking about Monaco, for example, where the richest of the richest, there's a little playground with their yachts and their, £1 million cars and all this shit. And said, you know, they're setting it all up there as well. There's nobody's going to escape it. So, you know, it kind of comes to a point then where people go, well, hang on a minute. And, you know, the thing with soldiers, my brother Chris Souls reached out the other day. I think we're going to do an ongoing kind of podcast together. And he's the ex Royal Marine Commando, you know, and he served, and then he was in Hong Kong and doing his thing. But it's basically, you know, he's fully awake to the shenanigans now, the Illuminati oil wars, as he says, and all this kind of stuff. So it'd be good to have a nice ongoing narrative with him. And you'd like to think that someone who's been there and done it, an ex-soldier, you know, kids are going to listen to him and not be hoodwinked into joining the fucking military. Because I think it's disgraceful that they kind of recruit kids into this kind of, you know, oh yeah, come and fight for your country and all this shit and see the world and all that. And I'm like, yeah.
The one thing I do see about, like, have you ever been wanting to be a kid and then, like, you know, or been growing up when you've been 20 or something and wanting to kill someone or something, just because and all the movies that you watch and the CIA propaganda bullshit that you see, like in this, what the fuck is called, you know, those dumb cop programs and the, you know, all these movies, they're all assassins and always murders taking place in them. You notice it?
Yeah.
Like a movie, there's no murder taking place. And
well, there used to just be murders, brother. Sorry to interject. It used to just be the murders and stuff. Now it's all the satanic shit as well. You go into like your Netflix, your Amazon TV, and all these news, just blood murder. You'll see someone's getting, and then it's blood, and then it's murder, then it's rape, then it's blood, then it's murder, then it's rape, blood, murder. It's just satanic as fuck. And The Boys is a new serial.
Yeah, but, just hold on. Just
go on.
Before so I can finish my point. Sorry about
yeah, my bad. Sorry, bro. My bad.
Yeah,
go on.
So we want to kill someone. They train us to want to, like, I remember being young and you just about do, like, you see them with, you want to, because you got to realize these, it's like Mark Bazio says, here we go again, but they're grown, sort of like grown boys, you know, they never really grew up, and they give them all their toys, and they, you know, and everybody, you know, you've been conditioned to want to be that. You know, I grew up playing with action figures.
It's Call of Duty, isn't it?
Army men and stuff like that. You got to realize that has a play on your subconscious. It's like watching kids in war zones playing with toy guns, and you go like, you know what they're gonna do when they're older, you know, like when you see it.
That was my every Christmas.
You see it on TV, and
every Christmas, until I shot my mother in the eye. Go on, sorry.
There's nothing wrong with playing with toy guns, but you see them in war zones, and they're so realistic about it. Like they got actual like real looking guns, and they're like, you know, sort of like, you know, it's just beyond a joke. And you got to realize that there's a conditioning thing happening, and this isn't our reality. We're not animals. They're trying to make us think that we're animals, and we are sentient beings, just like the sports games, trying to teach us that we're like something like animals, you know, that we're warring tribes, like, and the tribalism that has helped humanity for all these years must sort of make way for a higher state of thinking and a higher way of being. And this has all got to do with intuition. And I put up this post that I just thought of, and I swear it's like, I swear that even the feds, because I swear I get surveillance in that, and like, I don't know, it plays on my mind or something. And then, yeah, there's nothing, they can't beat me. They'll never be able to beat me because I've got human intuition. And all their machinery and everything, that's the strongest thing in the universe, is your intuition, because it can't be beaten. It relies on, like, I think it's 90 trillion thousand volts. That's what your heart can put out in power, or something, 99, some crazy figure of electricity and energy fields and stuff. Like, this is the...
Something's rattling your end, brother.
This is the power
rattling.
that this is the
No,
power.
I'm telling you, something's rattling. Something's rattling.
Sorry,
That's all right. It's coming through really loud on the mic is all. It'll be.
Yeah,
That's all right.
Yeah,
Go on.
Yeah, oh, sorry. So, yeah.
That's the hard thing you're saying.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're intelligent beings. They're trying to teach us, like, put all these sports on TV and the rest of it, and try and teach us that we are lower, like, trying to keep us at a low low state of consciousness, and we are high states of consciousness. We just are not getting exposed to things that will raise our consciousness. That's why I really am getting worried seriously about, we got to start putting this information onto discs, not on hard discs, on actual DVD discs, because even a hard disk can be wiped. People are going to put hard things down on hard disk because you can always read them off a reader. It's like, these are the things that people are going to start thinking of, like how-to guides, how to do this, how to survive in your natural area, how to, and things like this, and like start doing these things, and like, yes, spreading the information, of course, but like even just for themselves, like we got to start really thinking like, yeah, I'm trying to do as much as I can whenever I can. And yeah, that Dave in Dubai, he's like this other idea that I think is a beautiful idea that he came up that he said was there's such a thing as a PDF search machine, or app. You can it only search PDFs, and PDFs are so amazing. Like you think about it, and PDF search engine. It's called. Look into that. But yeah, we gotta start doing these things. I've just been getting worried about the internet, because the internet censorship. If you look at China, yeah.
Tells you all you need to know, right? Exactly. Yeah, restrictive and stuff. And I use I'm not sure about a PDF searcher per se, but I'll just, if I want something, I'll just type in whatever PDF free download, and yeah, there's some really good resources and libraries out there full of stuff, and even just your little things like the the SAS Survival Handbook. It's only about that big. It's a real small little book, but could be the difference between life and death if you find yourself in a situation,
I think the most important thing that is that it really is up to each individual, and up to us as community leaders and people of wise being, to be the strength, even in presence and mind. We must actually will this freedom into existence, with morals, of course, right along with it, to keep us moving ahead as the human family. I mean, God, I believe, or the source of creation, or the oneness, or everything, or the most inner part of me wants to be free. And I don't think even any of these guys, any of the humans that are going along with this, like if you really talk to like cops, or military guys that are even doing a job on the site, and you're like, man, what are you doing, man? They're like, oh, it's just a job, like this sort of thing. And they don't want, they're like, look at them in the eye, and they're like, I don't even really know what they're doing, but you got to take it up with the politicians. But I can't do anything about it. But the sad thing is that fucking guy is a hired gun. He's a mercenary. Like, really, he'll do anything for a paycheck in so many ways. But the good thing is that they are a gang. Like anyone who is working for the government, they're part of the biggest gang in the world. The only thing that makes them better than all the other gangs is that they are the most moral gang, because they'll still kill you, but they're just a little bit more moral than all other gangs. And but of course they, getting their orders from government, and of course our government is all that's really been done is, like in most countries, like in New Zealand, there's something called the Bill of Rights, which is like a founding document of the country. Just like in America, there's a Constitution. I'm sure there's another one in the UK. I'm not familiar with it. But these are the documents that we need to refer to. These are the documents. These are our sovereignty papers. These are what we need to start bringing back into the light, and dusting them off, and whatever. This is we got to actually, they've sort of commandeered our government, really, by putting people into power by money in politics. We all know money in politics is a terrible idea, but here we are. And yeah, they've put people, obviously corrupted them, and everybody knows the story. Money, what's your price? Lobbying, blah blah blah. And they get their things done, but the thing is that that hold them up to their morals. Are they standing up to are they keeping our freedom? Like people used to, for a long time now, people have always been watching the government, making sure that they keep our freedoms and keep everything, on board and up to par and what we want going forward. And people have lost sight because of the media and the brainwash box, the TV. Pop culture seems to be what people subscribe to now. People used to subscribe to family values, but they've seen to pop culture has taken over. And this is a culture that they are creating. We are all constantly creating, but they are heavily influencing because of their control over these devices, the military network and the Silicon Valley. I mean, if we had the human family really had a lot of love and attention in Silicon Valley, we could have beautiful devices, just like Edward Snowden, like the rest of them, they do say, like, I subscribe to pretty much everything Edward Snowden says, like just about everything. Like I can't vouch for the guy, but everything he says is, you cannot deny one thing he says. He says some really strong things about how important our privacy is as well. You got to realize right now, right? So if there was a financial collapse, if they cut the internet, which they're doing in Iran right now, I couldn't communicate with you. I couldn't communicate with my neighbor next door. I couldn't even communicate with my, say, Nana if she lived in a town over, because everything's running on their communication system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if I wanted to communicate with someone and rally my boys that are going to come, like, and we're all going to protect my house when the food riots or something start, I couldn't even tell them. There would be no way of communicating with them because the military installation would be controlled by whoever's controlling it,
That's what we've been doing with our on the ground group. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. What we've been doing with our on the ground group, our local community groups, is discussing this kind of thing. If shit pops off, and shit can pop off quite quickly. You could go to bed, wake up, and, oh shit, it's popping off. What are we going to do? Where are we going to meet up? If the communication networks go down, it's better to be together. At least, we have some kind of comforting community. Yeah, and it's like, we have our local place where we meet up and talk about things like CB radios or ham radios or whatever you want to call them. My boy Oliver's got one of those. They're very few and far between now, and I think they're even banning them or making them illegal in some countries or some states in the US. That might be incorrect, and I saw something that they were making them illegal somewhere or trying to restrict them or whatever it is, and we all know why that would be.
Do you want to know something interesting?
Go on.
We got to start subscribing to criminal tactics. Criminal tactics are the tactics that are mainly focused on evading the government. And people got to be thinking along these lines, like wrong wave radios and frequencies, like frequencies and times and codes. If you really want to, but at the end of the day, that's not going to save us. What's going to save us is human unity.
This is it.
And when shit does hit the fan, I think at the end of the day, all we can do is the things as much as we can do in love and light. And when shit does hit the fan, you can just be the shining light that comes out, and then you'll be the one that's looked upon in light, because you are the one that was telling the truth. You might have told a bunch of people and they didn't believe you, and then they start seeing it coming to fruition, and here you are out in the open, out there trying to help your people, guide them through difficult times, which has been sprung on the poor buggers, sort of sprung on them, set up, like Max Egan would say. And you know what I mean? It's up to us, just each individual, to be just a good person and as Chris Lamburo would say, or his father, a good citizen.
A good citizen. Yeah, no, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I think we've just hit the hour mark there. So rounding off on unity is a nice note to end it on, I think, because I know you and I definitely, much love, brother. I know you and I definitely going to have an ongoing dialogue now, especially with kind of we've almost got our tech issue sorted out. I think that might have just been a connection issue there, but I'll get my boy Drew to kind of cut that together nicely. And was there anything else though that you wanted to round off to before we wrap it up, my brother?
Nah, well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Nothing better to leave it on than the most important thing, which is human
unity, man. Beautiful, brother. Beautiful.
Brother.
Much love to you, my brother. We'll catch up soon, yeah?
You take care of yourself, brother.
Thank you for your time, brother. All the best.
Thanks for the interview. Love you, bro.
Much love, brother. Much love. See you soon.